Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Velvet Lounge Life. Yes, we added the word life to our title. And the reason that we did that is because we talk about a lot more than just reselling. So please take note of that. Nothing should change as far as I know, as far as you accessing the channel. We do have a new website, so please look at our About page in YouTube for more information, as well as if you look at the description in our videos down below, then you will get all the information you need to contact us or to look at extra content and free tips and other goodies on Facebook, Instagram, where else are we? Patreon, and of course our website, as I noted. And we actually noted more YouTube information down below so you can quickly access some more of the key videos that people look for more often. So thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you'll be generous and give us a thumbs up. Right under the title of this video, it says like and has a thumbs up icon. If you click that, I would greatly appreciate it. If you have comments of any type about this or any other video, just leave them down below. We actually read all of the comments and we acknowledge them all and we get back to you if you have questions. So this was a question that we had from one of our viewers who actually watches a lot of our videos. She comments a lot. She's very engaged, her and her husband. We really, really, really appreciate that and thank them. And because of that, I am giving them a gift today of doing a free eBay store and listing review for them. Yes, I am doing it right here, recording it so that, more people can learn. But they will be able to reference this information easily and any time that they want to. So as I noted, we do store reviews. We've done several of them so far. I want to say like maybe a month ago, refreshed the listing on eBay. So I think I put 10 offers out there. So if you're looking for a store or a listing review, we will, gladly do that for you for a very small fee. We will always include at least 7 and many times more actionable items that you can work on immediately to help you improve your processes, views, sales, photographs, add repeat business, how to find the best resources for very little or no money, and your search engine optimizer. Optimizing yourself in the search engines nowadays is a very key way, unless you have a gigantic following that constantly wants to throw all of their money at you. But it's a key way of making sure that you have, once again, that repeat business, or at least people can find you. Plus, there's other things that we will include if it makes sense to you. And every review we do is tailored to that particular seller. So there's no long books to read. There's no videos that you have to pay for. The videos, we try to get right to the point and just talk about your situation. And, the ideas, the tactics that we hopefully are giving people are easy to follow based upon the feedback we've gotten. People love the service and it's definitely worked for them. And we will, review folks' accounts for free. Sometimes it's 60 to 90 days after they've, received the information from us. So, we don't just give you some information and run. We're always there to help if we can. So I'm going to get right into this particular review. Some of the negatives that the seller is experiencing are the following. One is they want to give up. We hear that, unfortunately, kind of a lot. The first thing I'm going to say is don't give up. Q4 is almost here. Q4 is a holiday season, if you don't know what that is. For most people, Q4 is October, November, December. We actually start Q4 in September. So, you know, you can go the traditional route or our non-traditional route. It's what worked for us as far as timing goes. And I would not give up, because right now you should concentrate on getting as much inventory listed as possible into your store and worry about the sales later. Like, the sales hopefully will come if you make some of the changes that we suggest. Also, they, you know, are complaining about the fact that their sales are very low. We've heard this before. We have a couple videos out there that can definitely help you, as well as what is going to be in this video will be key to helping you as well. If you look, this is, you know, one of their summary screens. They had 7 items that sold in 30 days. Of course, that is a very low amount of sales, but if their sales were, let's say the items they were selling for hundreds of dollars each, then I would say that's not a big deal. But they're not. Their items are selling for like $7.99, $15. I can see one, I think it says $16.75. Like, the sale numbers are low, which is unfortunate. They are low. But, you know, the market bears what it can, and, you know, you have to change with the market. That's just the way it is. If you're going to do this, you really have to, you know, sort of look at yourself more than look at, you know, the fact that you wonder why people are not buying your items. Why don't they like my stuff? Well, if they're not buying it, there's a reason, and you just need to go back, review that, and make a few quick changes. Try some things, experiment. You know, it's easy. That's a cool thing about eBay. It is pretty easy to experiment with a few things versus touching everything. It's also easy to make, you know, group adjustments now. That was one of the updates that they made to the system recently, is versus having to touch every single listing, you can actually select a bunch of items and make that one update one time to all of those items. Just be careful, make sure you know what you're doing, but that actually saves you a lot of time and effort, which was something that was missing before, especially if you have hundreds or thousands or hundreds of thousands of listings. So, the other thing that they were concerned about is they used to have really good sales. So the words used to. To me, that goes back to, you know, a couple things. One is, okay, you used to sell a lot of costume jewelry. What are you selling now? When I look at their listings, they're still selling costume jewelry. That's a problem. We'll talk about that later. Her other part of the, you know, her complaint was vintage jewelry. The vintage jewelry market is basically low to no. Like, there's nothing selling, very little is selling. Okay. For some people, that might be true. For others, it is definitely not true. And we are going to get into that. That kind of goes into the we used to have good sales part of it. And that's where I say, okay, what are you selling? Are you still selling the same type of stuff? If you are, that's one of your big problems. So let's get right into this as far as, you know, especially I want to also talk about things that I think these people are doing really well. And one of them is the photographs. I think their photographs are pretty good. You know, could they be a little bit better? I mean, we can all be a little bit better. As one of our mottos last year as a family was be better. And we're pretty awesome. So that means even we could be better. And the only thing I would say is that, like, the colors need to pop a little bit more. They're a bit muted. And I tried this by adjusting my screen several times, and I actually have, pretty decent laptop. And so it's definitely not the laptop. Also, the sizing of some items, like the World War II pin that this person is selling is, to me, one of their better items, this one. But if you look at the picture, it just doesn't, you can't really tell what it is. It just isn't clear enough. And that's because you need to zoom in more so that it pulls that picture forward more. And the item is just much more visible right in your face. Like what you did here with these are really good photos. These make sense. This one, which is, one of the higher priced items on this page, it's one of the top 3. It's just too tiny. And the awesome thing about this pin is it's a cross collectible. People who collect pins, people who collect war memorabilia, I'll even say it's a trifecta. People who only want World War II items, but it's lost, it's tiny. So just pay attention to your photos and see if you can get the color to be a bit brighter if you can. You want the colors to be accurate, but just brighter if possible. But otherwise, I do think the photos are pretty good. They're better than a lot of other photos I see out there. The other thing is their pricing is, I would say for 85% of your items, your pricing is good. For the other 15% of your items, your pricing is questionable, to say the least. And the reason I say that is if I look at something such as, and I'm just going to scroll down here a little bit to these items, this pin that you're describing as Art Deco Emerald Green, looking at this cloisonne bracelet, the prices on those are very high. Why are they so high? I don't know. Because something I don't know, which is very important, I have no idea what you paid for any of these items. Hopefully not very much. Hopefully nothing. And if you paid a lot for them, that might be why you priced them up so high. This bracelet, and then the other part of this is looking at your descriptions. Some of the descriptions are just incorrect. These bracelets were sold in the 1980s and the 90s. We actually, my daughter and I'm going to say like 10 years ago, it had to be like 15 years ago, actually. We purchased a bunch of those bracelets in different colors. And we bought them in New York, and they just were not very expensive. They were cool, they were pretty, and the materials they were made of were okay. I don't know if the materials were safe, because I don't know really what they were made of. It was a metal, but they were out of Asia, so who knows. But you just want to make sure that you're describing things, the time frame of them correctly, because if you're not, when people look at your items, it will turn them off and they just will stop buying from you. This one you described as Art Deco. I mean, I don't know if it's Art Deco. I think part of it looks Art Deco, but part of it definitely doesn't, like the design of the green stones up here. And why is it priced at $55? I do not know. It's an item that would probably sell for $18.99 plus your shipping and handling. I noticed on your items are pretty fair. So that's another positive is, I don't think that it's unfair to charge what you're charging for the shipping and the handling. You just want to make sure your descriptions are correct. The other thing is making sure that you don't miss key important words. Like this kite brooch is being described as hanging ribbons. When you have this type of mechanism at the end, it's actually called a dangler. So I would remove the word hanging and put dangling or dangler, because people collect danglers only in brooches, and they are getting hard to find. And this is one, depends upon the size, because I don't know like how many inches this is. If it's larger, then I would charge a bit more for it. But if it's small, then what you're charging is fair. So just look at your prices, look at your descriptions. If you can, brighten up the color in your photo. If you can't, it is what it is. I would not go out and invest in a new camera at this point, because as you noted, and as we saw, your sales are low, and the amounts that your items are selling for, is also pretty conservative. So one of the other things that she noted is that she stated that most of their items, I think she said something, and I'm paraphrasing, to the effect of, before you ask, most of our items are hallmarked, are signed. Well, I looked at all of these listings. There's 188 listings as of right now, and very few of them are hallmarked or signed. Very few. And that is one of your issues, which it's an issue for every costume jewelry seller. Everyone is out there trying to find the cream of the crop. But the thing that you need to do is, if these are, more of these are signed than what I saw in your listing titles, then you need to correct that. I don't think it's incorrect. I'm just saying. And, of course, one of the ways that you can increase your sales is hopefully by finding more items that are actually the name brand, higher end, sought after designers, such as, and I'm just going to name a few, Miriam Haskell, Kenneth J. Lane, Weiss, Kremitz, Crown Trofare. There's a difference in the Trofare market. So there's like an education you need to have there for anyone out there buying Trofare. Some of it is worth more. Some of it is not worth as much. Sarah Coventry, once again, some of her pieces are worth more, some not as much. Coro, Juliana, you need to know what Juliana is. And Graph, and the list goes on and on. There are a lot of amazing pieces out there by some of the key designers. So what happens if you are having a really hard time finding some of those amazing money-making designers? Well, then what you have to do is buy items that are weird, quirky, bizarre, funky, large, gaudy, and even macabre. Those are the items that are unsigned that will sell. We sell them whenever we find them, and there is no issue with making money on them. And what I mean by making money is you can charge a premium price for those items. The other thing with any of the costume jewelry items, or even if it's a real jewelry piece, but more so costume jewelry, is condition, condition, condition. Color, color, color. And how well was it designed? So if it's a weird, quirky, macabre, bizarre piece, but it's kind of just hobbled together, obviously that is not going to sell very well if it's just, a hobbled together piece. Or if it's a piece that is not professionally restored, those will not sell well, and it could actually sort of throw dirt on your name as well, because people will leave you really negative feedback. So you want to look for all of those positive factors, and if you have to sell less, that's fine, as long as what you're selling is making you a premium amount of money. Also, some of the items that you have should be grouped together versus being sold individually. Like these inexpensive cloisonne bracelets, you would make more money if you grouped a bunch of them together and sold them versus trying to sell them for $35 each. No one is going to buy them for $35. And also, I'm just going to say, if you put probably 6 of them, maybe I would even say between 5 and 8 of them together, and you charge $49.99 for them, plus I would say like maybe $4.75 or $4.95 for shipping and handling. That is more prone to sell than, as I stated, trying to sell something like this as an individual piece. And especially if they're different colors, different designs, have some that are fat, have some that are skinnier. You know, if they're all exactly this design, then you're not going to make as much money. So when you sell the items as group items, you do sort of want to make sure there's a nice variation in those groups. I noticed that you had several, not several, but definitely a couple or more round brooches that are in a circular form. One of the things I noticed is, once again, be aware of your titles and how you're describing things, because these were actually sold in the 80s, and these are definitely not 1930s. These were sold to be inexpensive costume jewelry in the 60s and the 70s. My mother had some of these herself, and I actually had one of these in the 80s that I purchased from a department store. So those, you know, one is $10.75, one is $9.99 plus the shipping and handling. I would sell those. I would probably put like 5 or 6 more with the 2 of these and sell them as a group for about, I would probably start the pricing at $44.99 and then charge about $4.95 for the shipping and handling. I think you'll have more success. And this is an example of your cloisonne bracelets. Like, mix this bracelet with that bracelet plus a few others, and you're probably going to make more money. Plus, you'll be doing something that is different than other sellers out there, and hopefully it will drive more sales to your particular account. Some of the other things that I think you can do is diversify what you are selling. Right now, 99% of what you're selling is women's costume jewelry, or jewelry in general. So what I think you need to do is to add men's jewelry. Add some vintage jewelry boxes of different sizes that are easy to ship. I have some here as an example. This is a mahogany box. This is an antique leather box. It even has a tray. This is so old. It has a tray. This is like wool that they use to stuff inside, and you remove the tray and there's storage underneath that. There's some that are geared towards men. This carved one with a sail ship, and it's colored on it. And then this one, which is really cool with all the various types of wood inlaid. People who are looking for boxes might also see your jewelry and buy some of that. And people who are looking for jewelry might see your boxes, and, you know, you might get a cross sell there. The other thing I would do is offer people free jewelry boxes with their purchase, because you're selling mostly jewelry. It is easy to buy any of these boxes that I'm going to show you for very little money. In some cases, you should be able to get some of these boxes for free if you ask around. And on eBay, there are people who sell jewelry boxes. You can get like 50 of them for like, you know, $15 or something really inexpensive. And I'll try to leave a link in this video to some resources. And the reason I would do that is when people are buying jewelry, they also, sometimes they just want the box with it. They expect it. Also, if they're giving it as a gift because the holiday season is coming up before we know it, it's more convenient to already have it come in a box. So, you know, you put this box inside of whatever mailing package that you're using, and you put a thank you card in it, and, you know, you're ready to go. And also, those people are more likely to come back to you for repeat sales. So, you know, nowadays you're almost like trying to create a brand. You're trying to really round out your process to make the buying experience something that people will remember and something that they will want to come back to and hopefully refer. That would be awesome. And so other things that you can do to diversify besides the things I mentioned are, look for other things that are small and easy for you to ship. Maybe one of the things I might actually get into are small tape measures. They sell really well, especially in the foreign market. Have no idea why. Who cares? It is what it is. But just look at, other things that are easy to add to your store, easy to ship, things that you're probably coming into contact with anyway. And then the other thing that I would look at is, if you're going to diversify what you're selling in your store, also look at updating the name of your store. Take the word jewelry out of it and add something like a word such as boutique or emporium. There's a lot of other words that you can use. Check out the thesaurus. That way people know that if they come upon your store, they don't skip over it because you only sell jewelry. That happens, especially because there are a ridiculous amount of, which is a good thing in a way, jewelry sellers out there. The bad thing is you only have 188 listings. You need to always try to have at least 250 or more listings. The reason why is the more listings you have, the better you show up in the various search engines and in eBay's algorithm. If you are, and even at that number, are you going to come up at the top? Probably not. But you will come up a lot more often the more action you get on your account, whether it's people looking at items or people actually buying items. In doing that, of course, make sure it's something that you can manage. So I would definitely, like I said, look at updating the store name. We talked about group listings, and the other part is, I noticed that most of the items, of course, that you have are costume jewelry items. One of the things I would do is consider adding some real silver and real gold, if you find it, platinum, to your listings. It will bring in a totally different type of buyer. The thing is, you have to know how to create those listings. The listings need to note exactly how many grams or ounces of troy ounces of silver, gold, or platinum are in that particular item. And if you're including the weight of the stones, if there are any, you need to note that as well. If the items are signed, obviously you'll note that, that's a given. But in order to get, the best prices, the key is knowing how to price that stuff. So if you have, let's say 60 grams of silver and you list it as 60 grams, sterling silver, what type of silver is it? American, European, Indian, whatever. You need to note that if you know it. Take pictures of the actual silver marks. And if there's a maker's mark for any of this stuff that you're selling, the maker's mark should always be one of your photographs. For silver, gold, platinum, obviously it would be the same. And also, this is a part that's hard, the pricing. So if you're selling something that's very common, then most people are only going to buy the item for the scrap silver, gold, platinum, whatever it is. But if you're buying something that's unusual, or if it's made by a high-end maker, in a very basic, simple one to mention is Tiffany's, then that adds to the value, that adds to the price. If you have the original box, that adds to the price. And so now you're sort of stacking your price up, which is a positive. But if you don't have all of those factors, then most people will buy those items for the scrap metal, and you need to price it appropriately so that you can make a profit. At the end of the day, for any of this stuff, do not overpay for it. If you can get it for free, even better. Most of our jewelry and costume jewelry, most of it we pay very, very, very little for it, or we get it for practically free, you should be able to do the same thing. So if you're out there buying, especially things that are very common, I would skip over those. Like, honestly, everything on this page, the only thing I would buy, there's 3 things I would buy. This, and this. And for the 3 of them, I wouldn't pay more than a few dollars in total. I would even say 5 max. And if you spent more than that on them, then you're paying too much in today's market. Obviously, as you stated, and you know, the markets for not just jewelry, for everything has changed. And until, the economy in the U.S. is truly better, there's this Band-Aid approach of thinking that it's great, it's better. People have jobs, but if people are working 2 or 3 jobs, that's not better. That's actually worse. You should be able to work one really good job and make the amount of money you need to survive on if you're a reasonable spending, saving type of person. So, people are just not spending as much money. And also there's a lack of confidence right now. And people aren't sure what the future is, so they're holding on to their money. So if they spend it, they want to make sure it's on something that they think is special, that adds to their collection, or is an extra special gift for someone. So hopefully this information helped you. If you have any more questions, or anyone has questions out there, please leave them in the comments. Remember to thumbs up us. And thank you for tuning in to the Velvet Lounge Life again. We really appreciate it. Have a great day.